Well, hello, James. Thanks for joining us today. And I'm very excited because this is going to be so useful to other customers that are embarking on the same journey as you've done. Could I just ask you to cast your mind back when this whole concept, this extension, this refurbishment of this home, even choosing this home, was just a figment of your imagination? And what made you do it?
Yeah, of course. Hi, Steve. Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Yes, we moved. We're based in Marlow. We moved from London about 3 years ago as a family of four at the time. We're now a family of five with the addition of a 2-year-old since. And it's a beautiful kind of old cottage. We came from a very modern property. We had then the benefit of living here for around kind of 18 months, and started to, as you do, get a feel for the space, kind of how it needs to work for you and what more you might want out of it. And at that stage, having done a renovation before, we started to think about, okay, how would we alter the space and kind of make it our own, as they say. So we've done a lot of work to the house subsequently across all rooms, but the area that I'm sat in now is our kind of, as most families do, we spend 70-80% of time in this living space that's kind of open plan, kitchen, snug area with the TV, and then this extension now is kind of our dining area, kind of extension of living space. And it was really important, having had that style of living in London, that we recreated kind of a similar feeling and a similar space, but with the benefit of more room and more kind of square footage to be able to do that. So we were very much after that kind of traditional and retaining the character of the cottage, but meets modern. And hopefully we've gone some way to achieving that.
It looks totally minimalist, and it almost looks like you're outside, James. So you've really worked that outside inside space really well. So congratulations. And
Thank you. Yeah, that was it was a big kind of part of the design process, really, in terms of the selection of the windows and wanting to create that kind of glass box feel with so the windows, the doors, we wanted them to be minimal frames. And then as we go on to talk about the blinds, that was kind of a key criteria as well. We didn't want them to kind of interrupt that line of sight, kind of both when they were up and down. Really, it was kind of to create that feeling of when it's at night, it doesn't feel like the blinds are there, and when it's during the day, they can kind of totally retract and disappear. So um, that's kind of what started us on this search. Really, that kind of vague and very top line mission.
yeah, yeah, and some customers might be surprised not to see head boxes behind you or roller blinds and brackets and things. Could you talk to us
Yes,
about
yeah.
how you discovered all this?
Yeah, well, it was a combination of factors actually. We had some very good builders who, when we were starting to work through the structural engineer, advised us that we might want to think about kind of creating voids for the blinds, because actually, if we did that at that stage, we would be able to, or would be opening up the possibility of kind of a more recessed, hidden solution. And then the kind of next step from that was really to go out and research, well, who makes these blinds, kind of how does it all work, kind of what are the relevant factors to consider. And that's when I spoke to Chris at Window Treats and started to go through the various options and talk through the technology. And he mentioned Blindspace, which is kind of what we went with in terms of the boxes that sit within the kind of ceiling structure. And that was perfect. In theory, at the time when he kind of talked through it, that was exactly what we were after, something that pretty much totally disappeared when retracted, rather than having a box that kind of interrupts that line of sight.
Yeah, we can see behind you. The black lines are the base of the hem bars, aren't they? And they just retracted totally into the ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. So we went with the black hem bars, and we've got black blinds, which we can show you when they come down. But the idea was that those hem bars kind of just melted really into the frames of the doors and the windows, so they just felt part of kind of the structure that you're already seeing.
Yeah, they match the frames really well, and the lines look very very modern, very minimalist. So these blinds are rather large, to say the least. You know, they're 3 meter plus four. I think the Blindspace boxes are about 4 meters each. So the
Yes.
blind space box is sort of sits in the void, and the blind is sits in the blind space box, hidden away. Now, normally with a blind sort of 3 meter plus in width and in a good decent drop on it, you'd need a pretty big roller. So you went through the different system. Can you sort of explain the logic of what?
Yes, yeah, and again, I won't get all of the technological terminology right, but the ask really or the wish was having actually had a similar kind of slider patio door option in our old place in London. We ended up with three individual blinds, one for each slider. So the initial discussion with Chris at Window Treat was to say, well, is there an option? That was a few years ago. Is there an option to have one big blind that covers the door so we don't have the kind of the gaps in between? And that's when he talked through kind of combination of blind space and deflect zero and how actually yes there was a better option now. The weight was always a challenge, but to be able to get something that doesn't crease, that doesn't sag, and is small enough to sit within that kind of ceiling void. And that's ultimately what we ended up with. But we're incredibly happy because it leaves you with that kind of again minimalist, slim, streamlined look that we were hoping for.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. And you mentioned you went with a black color for it, and you got TV in
Yeah.
here. Was it for the television that you went dark? What was the logic of going dark?
No, no, we don't have a TV in here unless it's the logic was that we were trying to during the day we always anticipated having everything up. So it wasn't necessarily about shade. It was about kind of privacy to a degree, but a cozy feeling at night. So it was then when it was the reality was when we had them down, it would probably be dark. So having them down when it would have otherwise been dark outside, just we thought, okay, that doesn't change anything because it would be pitch black looking out anyway. So the idea was that you didn't notice the blinds, kind of whether it be day or night, and each would have their own logic, but that was ours. We were kind of trying for them to be kind of as hidden as possible when in use and when retracted.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for the helping us understand that. And there's a different area. You've got the older part of your home, which you've sort of opened up, haven't you? And so you didn't have the joy of having a new structure. You had to deal with the existing, I guess, the brickwork, the existing window there. So
Yeah,
how did you meet that challenge? Because you've got a 3 meter opening again there.
yeah. Yeah, that's right. So we're the area I'm sat in now is kind of extension, but off that is the where the kitchen is. Now is the original part of the house, and between us was the external wall previously. So whereas in this space we kind of had a blank sheet of paper really in terms of how we could accommodate kind of blinds and the windows and things. In the kitchen, we were using an existing opening, one that was previously patio doors. We've extended the kitchen and reconfigured. So in terms of the blind, we were dealing with an existing opening and kind of a structural steel above. So the recessed option wasn't viable. So therefore, it was kind of the same process of how do we make it as discreet as we can. So we ended up again with the smallest kind of slimline possible box, but at the same time kind of color matched it against the window frames. So actually it really blends into it's the same rail. We were able to customize it so it blends into the window frame. So as you look at it, it's really kind of unintrusive.
Yeah, thank you. So you've got a mixture of both. So concealment after as a retrospective fit and a
Yes.
new build. So
Yeah. 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 We've got hidden and then hidden in plain sight.
Yes, very good term for it. Fantastic. So, I mean, how do you, what controls do you use with the blinds?
So we've just got at the moment before we're fully in, and I suspect we're not on kind of using the app, but at the moment we're just using our controller, which actually the kids love to putting the blinds up and down kind of more than we do really. So it's very kind of user friendly in that sense. But equally, we can have all of the blinds on the one setting, or we control them individually. But yeah, at the moment, we've we're just using it on the controller, but we also do have the kind of Sumpy home system, which we're as we start to get kind of to the end of the project now, going to coordinate so we can put the blinds on timers and kind of I guess set them around our kind of daily schedules and routines. And likewise, when we're away, we have the option to be able to kind of control them remotely and set so timers and things like that.
Yes, yes, always used to, it makes it look like you're in when you're out as well.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So at what point did you put the blind space boxes in? Can you just describe that for us?
Yeah, so that we were fairly far down the line, but as the builders started to kind of finish the ceiling structure, they got the blind space boxes in, and once the blind space boxes were in, actually we then had a little bit of time before the blinds themselves needed to go in. That could be kind of done almost kind of the last part of the job, really. So I think the priority and the rush was to get blind space boxes measured up and sorted so we could get them within the ceiling structure and the guys could kind of finish off and plaster the ceilings, etc. But that then afforded a little bit more time to ensure we got the kind of the color choices right, the hem bar choices right, those kind of things. And it actually took the pressure off a little bit, knowing that there were those two distinct stages to it. And it's okay, let's just get the first bit done and right, and then that kicks the next decision slightly down the road a little because yeah, as I'm sure people will sympathise or empathise with, when you've got a project to this size, it's decision after decision after decision. So sometimes nice to break down the problem.
Yeah, yeah. So your builders put in the blind space boxes,
Yes, they
and
did. Yeah, yeah.
we a window treat put in the blinds.
That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was all very. I think the builders found it kind of relatively intuitive, and kind of the instruction and direction that went with it fairly easy to follow. But equally, they were in kind of dialogue with the window treat team as well around that to ensure that it was a fitted correctly, but future proofed in terms of like what was to follow. So I think that that kind of system and teamwork worked well.
Well, thank you, thank you. So, and how did you find the whole installation process? You've been involved for 12 months in this build. So, the blinds part, how did that go?
Yeah, all good. I think it was one of the easier elements, and I think jumping back to the original conversation with Chris and the window treat team. I think it was what kind of made our decision for us in terms of kind of opting for window treat was the expertise came through and the real understanding of the detail. And I think again to that point of having such a volume of work streams to manage, the idea that actually this is someone who really knows their stuff, who can talk directly to our builder and take us out of that kind of chain as much as possible, or worse still, kind of wash their hands of it at the point of handover, um, was very important and reassuring. So I think although when we were having the blinds installed, there was the occasion when okay, that might not be quite the right fit or the right part. We'll come back and we'll change. There was a real open communication and teamwork and dialogue around getting the right solution and finding the solution, which it sounds simple, but definitely can't be taken for granted in a process like this, and certainly wasn't our experience across the board. So, yeah, I think we found it. pretty smooth on the whole and kind of very open and collaborative.
Thank you, thank you, and that brings me just to two more questions, James. So this is probably what everyone wants to. So the last one is the one everyone will want to hear. They want to see the blinds in action. But would you recommend? This is the $6 million question. Would you recommend window treat to friends and family after your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Without kind of wishing to repeat kind of points I've already made, I think the level of service from kind of start to finish and was exceptional. But I got it from the first call I had. There was actually a real passion for getting it right and finding a solution and kind of and working with people to do that and present the various options that they genuinely thought was right for their home. And then the kind of actual execution similarly, so that they kind of follow through the discussion with the builders, the real attention to detail and making sure everything was communicated during those early stages. So we didn't end up in a situation where we almost had a finished build, the blinds come in, and all of a sudden something had been done wrong, and there was no one was holding their hands up to it. That was, I think, there's that level of foresight throughout that's really important to ultimately get us to a solution we're very happy with.
Well, thank you. That's music to my ears. And thank you, James. But may I ask, can we see the blinds in action?
Yeah, absolutely. See, should all be coming down at the same time. Ali, you can slide out the way. Shall I? So yeah, we've found them to be kind of very quiet, very smooth overall, and the options of just being able to do all, or like we say, kind of migrate onto the automated system. Just makes it kind of really simple to blend into day to day life, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the reason you're not in the dark is because you've got a skylight as well, haven't you? So,
Exactly, yeah. So that is one without a blind, but yeah. Otherwise, we would be pretty much blacked out. But yeah, as you can see, it's in kind of three pieces. We've got the main slider doors, and then there's a long side window next to me, and then a smaller panel on the end. So kind of three separate blinds, but all kind of really work as one, which is what we were after.
well, James, thank you ever so much for showing us this, for sharing your story. Congratulations on getting to the finish line here,
Thank you.
with a project as big as this. And I know our other customers will be grateful for being able to look back at this and learn from it.
You're very welcome. No, good to talk to you, Steve. And yeah, thanks again to you and the team.